Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Tom Morgan Drum Studio. We're back in a sequential approach to fundamental snare drum again, and today we are on page 29, 30, and 31. And finally we have gotten to 16th notes. So if you look on page 29 in your book, and again I hope you've purchased a copy of the book and that you're going through it with me, you'll notice a diagram there on 29. And this is all the notes that we've had so far plus 16th notes. And this is an important diagram to kind of have in your head all the time because it shows how all the notes relate to one another. And again, you see each one of the notes, one measure of 4/4 times worth of those notes written out, and they're lined up to show you how they all relate. So the whole note gets 4 counts. If you cut the whole note in half, you get 2 half notes. That's why they're called half notes, because they're half of a whole note. It's important not to get that mixed up with, an eighth note that gets a half a count. That's something totally different. The names of the notes really talk about what percentage of a whole note they are. So a half note is a half of a whole note, so there's 2 half notes in a whole. A quarter note is a quarter of a whole note. So there's 4 quarters in a whole, and you can see that in the diagram. An eighth note is an eighth of a whole note, so there's 8 of them there. And you see how they're lined up under the quarter notes, so there's 2 eighth notes in every quarter note. And if you remember that so far our time signatures have all had a 4 on the bottom, which tells us that the quarter note gets 1 count. So if you just look at the diagram, you can see if the quarter note gets 1 count, then the eighth note has to get a half a count because there's 2 eighth notes in a quarter note. And we defined a count as being a number and an and, so that makes it easy for us to not only play quarter notes correctly, but play eighth notes correctly because they get a number or an and. And then finally, we're now adding 16th notes. And there's a 16th note is a 16th of a whole note. So if you count them, there's 16 16th notes there at the bottom of the diagram. Now, let me explain some things about how to count 16th notes and how they work. All right. So first of all, here we have 2 eighth notes, 1 and. All right, and it doesn't really matter if the stems go down or up. It doesn't change the fact that these are eighth notes. Okay, so I've just taken these 2 eighth notes, I've just moved them over here. But now what I've done is I've placed another note in between these 2 eighth notes, and then another one here that would be in between this eighth note and whatever note comes over here on the next count. Okay? So here's the 1 and the and. You see, it's still falling in the same place as it was over here. But now I've got these other 2 notes. So I've got to come up with something to say for those 2 notes. And so most people say E for this one and for this one. So we count 16th notes, 1 E and . Now I highly recommend that you do count them 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and. Other people have tried to change that for some reason. 1 T tati, 2 T tati, 1 li lali, 2 li lali. Okay. Besides just kind of making you sound like an idiot when you count, I think it's also important because this keeps this 1 and 2 and thing going in the same place that it was. So it keeps a consistency. The number and the and are still falling in the same place. We're just adding an E and an . Now those other systems probably do the same thing, but I just think this one's, lasted the test of time and it works, and I don't see any reason to change it. The other thing I want to really stress about 16th notes is, for our purposes, we're going to get in the habit of always starting with the right hand and playing them right, left, right, left. Now we'll break that rule when it becomes necessary to do that occasionally, but if you get in the habit of doing this, and also the other stickings for 16th notes. It will really pay off for you later. So don't ever start this with the left hand as a general rule. You're always going to play this right, left, right, left. All right. So with that said, I hope that makes sense. Now we turn the page over to page 30, and wonder of wonders, we have two exercises that use the 16th note. Okay? And so this is just a way that you can get used to reading it. There's also eighth notes and quarter notes thrown in, and even some eighth rests in the second one. But you know, this is going to help you just get used to reading 16th notes. So I'm going to play each one of these all the way through, and I want you to eventually get to the place where you can play along with me on the video. Now, you know, you may not be able to go quite as fast as I go. I'm not going to go too fast, but you know, if you can't, then just practice it without the video, and then when you're ready, try to play along with me. The advantage of that is, you know, the video is not going to stop if you make a mistake. So one thing you can learn to do through that is to not stop when you make a mistake, to quickly get right back in and keep going. That's a very important skill to have as a musician, because everybody makes mistakes, but you know, a mistake is forgivable. But if you get lost and you stop, that's kind of an unforgivable sin, okay? So here we go. Number one, and I'll count out loud. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 and 2 E and 3 and 4 E and 1 and 2 E and 3 and 4 E and 1 E and 2 and 3 E and 4 and 1 E and 2 E and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 E and 4 E and 1 and 2 and 3 E and 4 E and 1 and 2 E and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 E and 3 E and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 E and 1 and 2 and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 E and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 E and 1 and 2 E and 3 and 4 E and 1 and 2 and 3 E and 4 and now it becomes very clear why it's so important to count quarter notes and put the and in. People that don't do that are in danger of doing the second measure of that exercise like this. 1, 2 E and 3, 4 E and okay? Well, you said all the right things, but you didn't play what's actually written there because you really ended up giving the quarter note a half a count. But if you play it 1 and 2 E and 3 and 4 E and, that ensures that you're giving the quarter note one count. All right, so we drop down to number 2 in 3/4 time now, and nothing's different except for the change in time signature. So here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 1 and 2 E and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 E and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 E and 1 and 2 and 3 E and 1 E and 2 and 3 E and 1 and 2 3 E and 1 and 2 E and 3 and 1 E and 2 E and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 E and 1 E and 2 and 3 E and 1 E and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 E and 3 and. All right. So those two exercises you want to practice. Now along with that, we're now ready to really put our buzzes together and create a buzz roll. And that's page 31, the buzz roll as 16ths. Now, I've already done this exercise in other videos, but I will go ahead and play some of these to show you again how this works. So now to do this effectively, you have to play the 16th notes fast enough to give you buzzes that connect. It doesn't do you a lot of good to practice it 1 E and because 1 E and that's not going to give you a roll. I'm going to do it fast enough that the buzzes connect. So it's like this. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E, 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a... And you do that line number 1 over and over again for several minutes at a time without stopping. Now, if it sounds like this, your grip is too tight. So, again, let me say, don't stop while you're doing this. If you do this, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E, oh, no, that's wrong. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E, no. And you just keep starting over, but you never actually do the buzz. It's not going to get any better. So you have to let yourself be bad at it to become good at it, okay? So since you're doing it repetitively, you're constantly coming back through that second measure of buzz. So listen to yourself. If the first time you go through it, it sounds like this, okay? The next time you go through it, try a looser grip. If it sounds like this, kind of a hybrid between buzz and double bounce, well, firm your grip up slightly between your thumb, index, and middle finger. Okay, and you just keep doing it over and over and keep adjusting your grip until you find that sweet spot where you have just the right amount of pressure in the grip to get the stick to respond the way you want it to. Okay, now the rest of these are just the same exercises but varying lengths of buzz. Also, by the way, practice this starting with the left hand too, or whatever your weaker hand is. Okay, so in the second line, I'm just going to do the buzzes for 2 counts instead of 4. So it sounds like this. Ready, and go, and 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1. Now in the second line, there's another thing I want to point out, and that is the 2 different ways that rolls can be written. I can write it like I did in the first measure with little Z's on the stems, or more commonly in music that you'll find in band and that kind of thing, you'll see a half note with 2 slashes over it and a line connecting it to the single note that ends it, and that is exactly the same thing. So measure 2 or line 2, both of those measures should sound the same. Okay, they're just 2 different ways. And in this book, just like in the rudimental book, I go back and forth between these 2 types of notation because I want you to get used to seeing both of them. So line 3 is just a reverse of line 2. Line 4, now we have 1 measure or 1 count buzz rolls. So 4 sounds like this, 3 and 4 and 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1, 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1. And again, you repeat that over and over. The second measure of that sounds identical to the first. Line 5 is the reverse of line 4. And then when we get down to the last line, I just add some 8th notes so you can practice kind of ending the roll on a note other than just more 16th notes. So 6 sounds like this. Ready, and go, and 1 E and a 2, and 3 E and a 4, and 1 E and a 2, and 3 E and a 4, and 1 E and a 2, and 3 E and a 4, and 1 E and a 2, and 3 E Again, do each of these lines for several minutes at a time without stopping. All right, and start with either hand. All right, so this will get you going with your buzz roll and reading 16th notes. So we're off on we're really getting into some more fun stuff here now. And so hopefully if you like this video, you click like on it. Also subscribe if you haven't. And I'll see you on the next one as we keep going through a sequential approach to fundamental snare drum. Bye-bye.